it might be easier for me to do some other things. And on those days you might want to question, I can go back to that thing that's outside of me, that isn't just I want to do this, which is a great motivator. I want to do this, but it's I had this vision, and there's a reason and a purpose for it. And so after going there and living, and after bearing Andy Bo, they gave me the name Efeosa Mabutimang Bo. And so Efeosa means the man who loves us. And I love that one the most. I treasure that one. But Mabutimang Bo.
Booty man, Bo.
Yep.
I love that.
Let me see if I can teach it to you. Mabutimang Bo.
Booty man, Bo.
Yep, there you go. It's pretty close. That means the big pygmy. So
You're a big pygmy.
There we go.
How big are those guys? No.
Their average height's 4'7".
Really?
For the men.
Man.
For the men, 4'7". And here's what's so crazy is people say,
Did the army brutalize them?
yes. Now the Congolese army or the Ugandan army. Ugandan, yeah. They so the pygmy people live in 9 African nations.
Huh.
From Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, the other Congo. There's
They
actually 2
enslave them
Congos.
still?
Yeah, they do in a lot of areas.
Can you imagine that? Black people enslaving black people?
Wow.
Can you imagine? Just think of that.
Yeah.
There's over 200. So we don't necessarily name the tribe normally whenever we do our work with Fight for the Forgotten, because in Congo there's over 200 tribes, and only a few of them might be doing this. But we say the Makpala, which mean non-pygmy people. And then people say, how do they have this injustice that that this is still happening? Even Chris Cyborg, who was here with you guys, she came on our last trip to Uganda.
I remember seeing some, maybe 10 years, I remember seeing some documentaries about the harassment they were getting from the government's going in the bush and humiliating them and doing really bad stuff.
Well, kicking them out of the forest in a lot of areas where they're the protectors of the forest. So to protect the forest, why kick out the protectors?
But why do how do the Ugandans, I know they have a border, but how do Ugandans get the right to cross the border and harass them?
Well, so there's pygmies that live in
Uganda?
Yep, and then in Congo and in Central African Republic, Gabon, Cameroon.
Did Uganda and the Congos ever have a civil war with each other?
They do not like each other.
Yeah,
They've been Congo's been exploited. They are the richest country on planet Earth.
Yes.
For natural resources, for gold, diamonds,
Rubber.
coltan, rubber. Yep, absolutely. That's
Remember
where the rubber
remember
boom
the guy
started.
used to cut their hands. What was his name? Leopold.
Wow.
He used to cut their hands.
King Leopold II.
That's what Heart of Darkness is all about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And King Leopold's Ghost is another great book. And there's a picture that you're talking about that's so brutal because they think there was 20 million Congolese that lived in Congo when King Leopold came
he
there.
did a number on, you can't imagine.
8 to 10 million killed.
That's why he did a number on him like in the 1870s and 80s and 90s.
Yep.
He died in like 1902,
Wow.
around that time. Leopold died. And he did a number on those people.
Yeah.
And listen, he just went in there and did it without anybody, and they had to stop them eventually.
Yeah.
He just got too brutal.
Well, people in Europe thought that King Leopold was like a hero.
Right, because he's bringing the
back all
light
rubber
into
and
the
all
dark.
sorts of
Yeah,
stuff.
then they found out what he was doing,
Yeah.
and they said, "Whoa, this guy's a monster."
Yeah, it killed 8 to 10 million people. They think like half the country there, and then the rest of the 50% that lived, half of them were missing one or more limb, because if they weren't working hard enough, they would cut off their hands.
No. They would cut off their babies, their wives.
Yeah.
If you don't work, if you don't bring me this amount of rubber today, I'm going to cut off your daughter's hand. I'm going to castrate your son. I'm going to do this.
Absolutely brutal. Where the picture you're talking about, I think there's a bunch of them out there, but there's a father reaching out for his daughter.
Oh, yeah, you saw that picture?
Yep, he's reaching out for
They
his
all cut to
daughter.
pieces.
Yep, and his daughter's hands had just been cut off, and he's reaching out to her with his hands already removed. And so no one has hands, and he's reaching out to his daughters who just lost her 2 hands. Like some of the most evil stuff you could ever imagine. Like, I don't mean to say this bad about the brand Jameson, but they even had one of the sons go out to the Congo, and he paid one of the tribes Jameson whiskey. One of the sons of the Jameson family, his last name was Jameson. He sent out a tribe to go cannibalize the pygmies so that he could do it for artwork. So he sat by while they were cannibalizing a pygmy, and he like painted the atrocities happening to this person. So he like paid for it, and it was his viewing pleasure, and then he painted it out. So one of the most evil things you can
Fuck
think
Jameson.
No, but listen, this is, check it out. I know we say fucking, but this is what the elite people do. especially in the 1900s, the Gilded Ages, they experiment on other human beings who are inferior to them.
Well, on that, in 1902 to 1906, people ask, how do they still suffer these kind of atrocities? Or
No, yeah, still slavery.
yeah.
Now black people are slave masters.
well, so in the Bronx Zoo, 1902 to 1906.
Yeah.
I actually think 1902
They
to
had humans there.
1904.
Were the humans they
Who
used?
brought
It
it?
was a Mabuti
Yeah.
Pygmy named Otabinga from the area
Yeah.
I lived. And they put him in the St. Louis World Fair from 1902 to 1904, 1904 to 1906.
Yeah.
He was in the Bronx Zoo, and they fed him bananas in the monkey house. So he
Yeah.
literally lived with the monkeys right there.
Yeah.
So just brutal. But what we're trying to do, even Chris Cyborg that was on the show, she helped us drill our first 2 water wells in Uganda for the Pygmy people there, the Batwa Pygmies.
Had this been? What is the history of the Pygmy people?
So
Who was
they've-
the first Pygmy? What year was he in?
Well, anthropologists think they go back tens of thousands of years. They're the first people group of even Africa, or at least the first people group of Congo. So they're the original citizens, the first citizens. And so similarly to how with Native Americans here, there's been land given to them for reservations. It was taken from them, right? It was all taken from them. And then they've been given land back that they can use and cultivate and that they own. And it's the strongest thing in courts, like this is Cherokee land, or this is, well, now we have 3,000 acres of Mabuti Pygmy land in Congo, and we have 5 acres started in Uganda, but we're looking at right now, because of Chris Cyborg and then also Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's helped done a big fundraiser in his last fight in Abu Dhabi against Khabib Nurmagomedov. And they auctioned off the gear for Fight for the Forgotten and the Good Fight Foundation, Dustin Poirier's organization, and they raised more than they thought. We set a goal at 25,000. We blew past 50. Then Khabib donated his shirt for 100,000. Dana White matched it for another 100,000. So I think it raised like $280,000.
It's amazing.
Now, oh man, now we're going to be able to drill 7 water wells, and we're going to be able to get back up to, well, 30 acres of land is what we're shooting for, but we're even aiming at maybe 100 acres of land there to try to get back. But we have enough funding for 30 acres of land, so that way they can start up their own farm, because this is what was brutal. They were kicked out of the Simaliki National Forest in Uganda by the Ugandan Wildlife Authority. And they have reasons to do that, to protect the forest that was being cut down, to protect the animals that were being poached. But the Pygmies aren't poachers. They only take what they need. And then from there, they were put on 1 acre of land behind over 300 people, given, here's your 1 acre plot of land behind these slums. And then they're throwing out the sewage, and the sewage comes through their village. And they have 8 shelters for over 300 people. And so Chris and I were walking around, and we were walking over these mounds, and Chris Cyborg stopped and said, "What are these mounds?" And she pointed down, and
Dead people?
well, yeah, they live on top of their grave, their graveyard. And so they've only been given 1 acre of land. They've dwindled down from over 300 people to only 151 people in that area. And the chief was literally, or King Zito is his name, Nzito, Zito. He was saying, hey, if we don't get land soon and have clean water and be able to farm for ourselves, we've always hunted and gathered. We can't do that anymore. We've got to be able to farm for ourselves. If we can't do that soon, our people group isn't going to exist anymore here.
That's crazy to think my race of people is no longer going to exist.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? He literally drew in the dirt his dream, and his big, audacious dream was land, water, food. And we're like, man, well, we've done that in the past. We can do that here. All we need to do is have rally support. And so,
What would some bums do to be? What would some people do in other countries to be just a homeless bum in America? They would give their life to be homeless and a bum in America. Can you imagine?
yeah.